What's up, my fellow watch admirers? Hopefully you survive another day of watch collecting. Today we have the Junghans Max Build 38mm in the Anthracite dial, which is a limited edition watch. I'm not exactly sure how many they actually made of these, but you can't officially get them anymore. You have to go on different marketplaces and attain them from there. But let's start with the specs, right? So it has a 28-24 ETA movement. It has a ghost position, and you might wonder, well, why does it have a ghost state when there's no cutout for it? Well, they just have not made a cutout for it. And I think the reason why these models have a ghost state is simply because they might have had a lot of these movements leftovers, or they might have gotten for cheap, so they just put them in there. Essentially, they do the same thing. It just has a ghost position if you pull out on the first position, which is, I would say, a bit annoying, especially when you pay that amount of premium. You don't want like simple things like this to occur on your watch. You just want it, like, if it does not have a day window, that like the only thing you should be able to do with the watch is just pull it out and change the time on it. But it does have it. It has a curved plexiglass, which I, for some reason, do admire on the Junghans. It just looks so great, and it's executed so well. In general, I don't like it too much simply because of scratches, but let's talk about it a little bit later. It has the classic dial layout. It's a 38mm dial size. I believe the lug to lug is 42, so it's very short, and it has a lug width of 20mm. So let's just start off talking about the glass. It's plexiglass, as I just mentioned. One thing I love about plexiglass crystals is the highly domed portion. Like, it's so domed and it looks phenomenal. And the other part of it is how transparent the visibility is when you look directly on the watch. It's just incredible. Like, honestly, you can see everything just pops in a way that I think Sapphire does not achieve. And another thing, the reason for this visibility is also, even if you touch the dial with your hands, all the oil gets on there. The smudges are not necessarily visible. There is some smudges, but it's almost like it disappears in a way. Whereas with Sapphire, so this is the Sin 556, if you put your hands on it, so it's a little bit hard to see now with all the light and also the mother of pearl dials, but you can kind of tell that it's smushed up. It's not as clear or visible as the Junghans is. Like the Junghans Max Build, the plexi crystal just pops. Right? I don't think this watch pops as much. It's almost like it's faded in a way. And so I've always loved that quality of plexi crystals. And I would say I definitely do love that about this Junghans as well. I love that popness to it. So I want to say that though, I still prefer Sapphire simply because it doesn't scratch. You know, I mean, you can always remove the smudges with a cloth, but it's hard to remove scratches, and especially with this one because there is some sort of coating and you can't buff it out with poly watches. You can with other acrylic watches or plexiglass watches. So just bear that in mind. You can always get it changed. I don't know exactly how much it costs to get a plexi crystal changed, but I think that could be an option. You can get it. You can get a Sapphire installed from Junghans directly for $200 if you want that, or I believe it costs $200. Let's talk about the dial. It has one of the best fonts used for Arabian numerals. It looks German, it looks aesthetically pleasing, it looks surgical, it looks clinical, but still has a lot of character. I can't explain exactly how that works, but it's such a beautiful watch. I mean, I love the Arabian numerals fonts. And I also love the fact that it has the hour markers around. It has the anthracite dials is grayish and bluish. I'm not even exactly sure what this anthracite dial looks like, but I'm always thought of anthracite as grayish, but I think there's so many other colors and tones to it. So you have the second track around the dial with the hour markers being a little bit longer to accentuate the connection to the Arabian numerals. And then you have the hands elongated and thin. And you have the second hands obviously sweeping because of the mechanical movement inside of it. And you have Junghans automatic on the 12th, super clean again. And that's pretty much it. And obviously unique, and one of the most iconic things within German watch making is the 4. Like, it's such a beautiful 4. I believe it's a reverse chair. That's how people are describing it, but it's so beautiful. And it's such an incredible detail. So if there's any fakes out there, you can kind of tell on that fork because it's rarely executed that well as this one. So I love this watch in terms of design, and I love the anthracite look. I actually love it better than the white and silver, simply because of just how clean and modern it looks. It's such an understated color, and also with the Arabian numerals, it's more like a faded gold yellow, and it just pops so well on the gray style. It creates a nice contrast, but everything is so understated. You know, also with the second markers in silver, it just all explodes in a nice, modern, sleek package, and I love that about this style. So if you talk about the case, we have 40, I believe it's 42 to 42. I believe it's 42 mil luck to luck, but it's super short. It's not super short, but compared to something like the Sin, which is a lot longer. And I think that's the difference between a dress watch and a sports watch. And I think dress watches should be made this way because it creates a more compact, sleek design to it, which I love. The experience of wearing it, it just creates a whole different experience than wearing a sports watch. And I think that's how it separates itself, like dress watches separates itself from sports watches. It does, especially this Junghans. I'm not exactly sure if all dress watches are like this. I don't have many dress watches in my collection, but I think for sure, I mean, I think you should produce more dress watches like this, you know, with shorter lug to lug. It creates this compact, more, I would say, intimate experience with the watch as opposed to a longer lug to lug. It has a 20 mil lug width, which I think is great for easy strap change. And again, this strap, if you're interested in this strap, specific strap, it's actually from Wogancraft. It's a strap that's a little bit more on the pricier side at $180, but the quality is insane. It's a great quality strap, and I love how the tail shows on the back end there. But I love the proportion of the case. It's highly polished all the way around, which also is very signified, I believe, on dress watches in general. But the funny thing is, I'm not even sure if the Max Bills are trying to be a dress watch. I know for a fact it's not trying to be a sports watch, but it doesn't have the classic dress watch design and appeal. That's why it works on such a multi-functional level. It works as an everyday watch, as going to the office or going for formal functions, but it also works. I mean, if you want this as your wedding watch or your birthday watch or any formal functions, again, it also works in that level. So it works in everyday purpose, but also like functions. But it doesn't have that, you know, like ostentatious dress watch feel. I mean, if you didn't know about this watch, you wouldn't think it cost $1,000. You would think it costs not much. I mean, compared to like other watches like Omega, who has that gold champagne dial hue that's very much more in your face. So it's very subtle. And I think the people that knows about this watch and love the design, they really appreciate it. But if you don't, I mean, if I showed this to my family, they would just go, why would you pay that much for a watch? But I guess that goes with a lot of watches, but especially something like Junghans, because I love this design, but it's so clean. But it also looks very old and very like too simple for some. And I would understand why that's the case. Other than that, there's not really much to say. I mean, who should buy this watch? I think it's really for everybody, honestly. I mean, it has a good movement inside ETA 2024, which is very hard to come by. Even Tudor are not using the ETA movements anymore, so they are becoming rare. So you're getting that specific movement inside of here. Has beautiful heritage, beautiful style. I mean, I just think it's designed so well. The only thing I wish it did have is a lot more water resistance. It's only a 30 mil. I wish it was a lot more than that. But I guess, you know, it's hard to fit it in when it's so thin and light. It's not really, I mean, then you had to probably make it thicker, and there might be a whole different engineering scheme behind that, and that might be resource intensive, but also maybe take out the aesthetics of the watch. I mean, even though form follows function, they still want the design to be beautiful and inspiring, and I think this design is, and I definitely do understand people that studies design who loves this type of watch. So if you want a watch like this, and I think you should go for it. But who is it really for? I think it is really for people that study and love design. I don't study design, but I love design. I think about colors of products. I think about, like, if I use something, even if the functionality is not as great as something else, another product, but if it's more motivating in terms of design, I'm definitely picking it up like way more often than something else that is a lot more functional, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing. It's a great watch at $1,000. It's a little bit more inexpensive if you buy it at a different marketplace, and that's where you have to get it now. But initially it cost $1,000, which might be a lot for this watch, but still, I mean, with the heritage and the design and the components, I definitely do like the watch. I do wish that it came with Sapphire, but I also am starting to like the popness, like the way the dial pops because of the glass. Like, it really accentuates the dial, and the dial is the star of the show. Everything else, I'm not exactly sure how hard it is to manufacture, you know, the casing and all that, but the dial is definitely a stunner. So, you know, you can get it for a better price at secondhand market. So, I mean, if you are interested in the watch, I mean, I think you should go for it. I think it is the best Junghans ever made. Of all the Junghans I've seen, I've owned the black silver, the silver white version as well, where you have the second track with the Arabian seconds noted, so you have like the 510 around the second track on the edge of the dial, which I actually love because it creates a complexity and depth that other watches do not create. Some people would say it's too busy, but I actually loved it. But I might even be a bigger fan of this, honestly, because I love Arabian numerals on watches, and I actually love like how clean and simple it is, that you don't have too many moving pieces. So I don't know, what is your experience with Junghans? Do you have any experiences with Junghans? I made a few videos on this specific brand or specific model. It's not like I'm a fanboy, it's just a watch that I've had and I've sold a lot of times as well. Like some of the watches I've already sold. And this is a watch that I might keep, I'm saying now, but I might sell it and buy something else, who knows. But for now, I definitely think it's an interesting proposition, and I definitely do understand if this watch is not for you. I definitely do understand that, you know. But I also understand people who loves this brand, who wanna have this watch and wanna use it as, you know, their special occasion watch. I think it can be used as an everyday watch, but again, only 30 mil water rating, so it's splash proof maybe. I wouldn't be too comfortable having it in the rain. And it does get scratched up easily, and the casing is not necessarily as sturdy. I don't think this watch can take too many beatings and drops. So if you work at an office, I think it could go. But if you work, you have to go outside or you have to move around a lot, I wouldn't recommend this watch. For sure not. Not as an everyday beater though. Then the Syn 556 is definitely a lot better. If you want a proper everyday watch, I think the Syn 556 for sure will be a better proposition for you there. But in terms of design, man, I love the design of this one specifically. I thought I would miss the second track with the Arabian numerals, but for some reason I don't. I kind of like this clean, minimal, only the hours shown with Arabian numerals. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I try to answer them. And again, hopefully you survive and thrive another day of watch collecting. And I love the fact that you tune in. I'm not exactly sure if some people are tuning in, the same people are tuning in again for my videos. But yeah, thank you for watching, man. I really appreciate it.